Tired of the boring pickers in SwiftUI? Learn how to build a fully custom dropdown with text, images, and multi-select, all without UIKit. This is the tutorial we'll be creating today. As you can see, the list has been populated with images and text, and if I select any of the items in the list, it will display the selected information at the bottom. And if I deselect or remove one of the selected items in the list, it also reflects at the bottom to remove the selected item from the row. So this is the tutorial we'll be creating. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. To populate our list, the first file we need to create is a struct. The name of the file for the struct is called hobby. The purpose of the hobby file or struct is to enable an array of names and icons to be stored within the struct. So we need to create a new file, Swift file that is. Name the file hobby. Import SwiftUI. Struct hobby identifiable. And then hashable. So this struct defines the data model for the hobby or for each hobby item. Since we're using identifiable, we also need to include UUID that will make sure that each record has a unique ID so that it's displayable and retrievable correctly within the list. Let name string. Let icon string. That will store the icon or the image. The next file we need to create is called hobby list. The purpose of the hobby list file is just to store a hard-coded array of hobbies. Really, this should be coming from an API or maybe a database, but with an API it's more flexible. So we need to define our array of hobbies. Hobby list. That's an array of hobby. Hobby name, and a hobby has an icon as well. So that is called reading icon. You could use icons or images. I'm just using icons. Fill. And then I'll just copy that line and then just repeat it. So the next hobby will be traveling. And the icon will be airplane. Cooking icon fork dot knife. Swimming. Figure pool dot swim. Next hobby is, or the next icon for the hobby, because I'm doing it this way, which is figure.walk, and the hobby name is hiking. Then our final hobby will be tent. Hobby name is camping. Compile it. Compiling. Compile again. Our next file that we need to create is our hobby view model. The purpose of the hobby view model file is to detect if a drop-down is open or closed, and also to ensure that the hobbies are unique. So to ensure that the hobbies are unique, we'll be using a set. So let's create that new file. Hobby view model. We need to import SwiftUI, import observation at observable to detect any changes within the class. Hobby view model, var selected hobbies. Hobby should be lowercase o. Set hobby, just to make sure each of the hobbies are unique. We're using a set, as mentioned earlier. Var is drop down open bool equals false, and that detects whether the drop down is open or closed. We next need to create a drop-down item view that includes the hobbies the user can choose from. So we need to create a new SwiftUI view. Name the view drop-down item view. Let hobby with hobby. So we create an object variable. We also need to create a flag that will detect whether the hobby is currently selected or not. The selected boolean. Okay, let's see if the preview works. Reading. is selected. Something is selected. Should be icon. Book.fill. And then is selected. True. Close the bracket there. Oh, that's incorrect. Oh, that should be name, not hobby. Name. Hobby. Hobby. I think there's an error somewhere else. I think I need open bracket there. Compile it again. So now we can start to implement our H-stack that will display our hobbies, such as the hobby name and the hobby icon, using a label. So we can delete our text element on line 18, type the following: H-stack, label, hobby.name, system, image, hobby.icon, foreground color, primary, and it will also work in light and dark mode as well. .primary, spacer, that will push the check mark to the far right. We will now add the check mark if is selected. Image, system name, check mark. Foreground color, blue. Add a bit of padding. Vertical, 8. Content shape, rectangle. You could spell rectangle incorrectly. Rectangle. Let's see if the preview works. If it doesn't work, we just run it in the simulator anyway. Oh yeah, so it's loaded in the simulator. So in the next tutorial, we will start to implement the hobby drop-down view. Tired of the boring pickers in SwiftUI? Learn how to build a fully custom drop-down with text, images, and multi-select, all without UIKit. This is the tutorial we'll be creating today. As you can see, the list has been populated with images and text, and if I select any of the items in the list, it will display the selected information at the bottom. And if I deselect or remove one of the selected items in the list, it also reflects at the bottom to remove the selected item from the row. So this is the tutorial we'll be creating. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. Today we'll create the hobby drop-down view. This view represents the full drop-down selection interface for the hobbies. So the first thing we need to do is to rename content view file to hobby drop-down view. And then rename the content view struct and rename the preview to hobby drop-down view. Also, within your app file, you have to rename the content view to hobby drop-down view. The next thing we need to do is to create an instance of the hobby view model. At state private var view model equals hobby view model. Stat alignment leading spacing 16. And next need to create a heading. That's a text element. Include P select one or more. As in hobbies. Dot font. Dot headline for the style. The text element. Dot accessibility traits. We don't really need to use that. Next, we need to do is to add a button with action, with animation. When the user clicks on the button, it will call the ViewModel drop down open.toggle. So when the user clicks on the button, it will either hide or show the drop down. The name of the button or the caption of the button will include select hobbies. Also need to add a spacer. and we need to add a system image. The purpose of the system image will act as a chevron to open or close the drop-down. If drop-down open, if it's open, display chevron up, else chevron down. Foreground color, gray. Padding, gray. That's width, infinity. And what else do we need? We need background color, dot secondary system background. Corner radius will be curvy corners, which is 10. Now we have to use an if statement to conditionally show the drop down or not. The drop down will be in a scroll view, lazy VStack, spacing of 0. Next we need to loop through the list of hobbies list, got a hobbies array, and then for each hobby we need to add it to the drop down item view that we created yesterday. Pass the hobby and whether the hobby has been selected or not. ViewModel dot selected hobbies dot contain hobby. A little bit of padding, horizontal padding. Background. So if the hobby is selected, we need to highlight the hobby in the list, but we have to use the background, new model, selected hobby, what contains hobby. So if it contains a hobby, the color of that background will be blue, dot opacity 0.1. Now the color will be clear. Is the preview working? Next thing we need to do is we need to create an on tap gesture. On tap gesture. With animation. If ViewModel dot selected hobbies dot contains hobby, so if the hobby is already in the list, then we need to remove that hobby from the list. Else, when the hobby is not in the list, then we need to insert that new hobby into the array, so that at the end the application will show the selected hobbies that we have selected. On line 57, or after line 57, we need to add a bit of padding, vertical 8. Off line 59, we need to add a frame with a max height of 200, and this is to limit the height of the drop down. The background color, UI color, dot system basic. That will be the color for the drop down. Corner radius, 12. But that should be dot corner radius. And then we need a transition. The purpose of the transition is to create a smooth enter exit effect. Dot move, edge, top, combined with dot opacity. And after line 64, we can then show what the user has selected. If the view model isn't empty, so if the array contains data, text, show the user what they have selected. Font dot subheadline. You compile it. You can select something. Oh, it's okay. So to show the users or the user what has been selected, we need to loop through the array. For each array ViewModel selected hobbies. So we need to create we call the selected hobbies a set. We define it as a set. So because we defined it as a set, we need to use array at the beginning within our for each to convert it into an array. ID, and then for each of our records, we have to give it an ID, unique ID, so that we can display each of our hobbies. Just do hobby.name. If you want to, you can style it another way. Font.caption. And then add a spacer. Push the content to the top. Let's see what it looks like there. So this is what it looks like at the moment. You can improve the look, the appearance of the UI if you want to. It allows us to select any amounts of items from the list, and it allows us to deselect the items from the list as well. Please select one or more. That could do some more padding, but that's a little task for you to do to improve it. And if you have any questions, please submit them to the comments feed, please. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials.